everyone, and welcome to episode number, I think this is 6 now, of Talkin Tech with Jake and Tim. Unfortunately, Tim is not here, as you can see, but I guess we should get started, so I'll roll the intro. Okay, so starting off the night, as you could see from the title, Elon Musk says that Apple has refused, back when Tesla was like a smaller company, Apple actually had the chance to meet with Elon Musk about buying them, but apparently that Apple actually refused a meeting. So he said in a tweet, "During the darkest days of the Model 3 program, I reached out to Tim Cook to discuss the possibility of Apple acquiring Tesla for 1/10 of the current value right now," but he refused to take the meeting. Musk has previously said that Tesla was single-digit weeks away from collapse in 2017 as he directed all of the company's resources towards ramping up production of the Model 3 sedan. Tesla ultimately survived and has gone on to roll out the Model Y SUV and announce new vehicles like the Cybertruck. Apple has spent the last half-decade toying with an entry into the worlds of electric and self-driving cars, but up until this week was thought to be focused on developing software and other technologies that could be sold to other companies. But on Monday, a news source reported that the Silicon Valley giant has retrained its focus on making an electric autonomous car for general consumers. So I thought that this was really interesting because Apple could have owned Tesla, which is pretty cool and interesting. So I guess we'll move on to the next article, and that is that Zoom may launch an email service and calendar app to compete with Google and Microsoft, which I thought was really interesting. So video conferencing platform Zoom has had like an amazing year this year, with its stock price rising more than 500% due to the pandemic. So the company is already working on an email product, which the report states will be a web email service Zoom may be testing as early as next year. The calendar app appears to be farther off, and it's unclear if development has even started. But both ideas are smart avenues for Zoom to explore, especially if companies start bringing employees back to the office and reliance on video conferencing declines as COVID-19 vaccine distribution picks up through 2021. So many of Zoom's major competitors are video conferencing platforms bundled as part of broader enterprise app suites, with two of the biggest ones belonging to Microsoft with its Office 365 platform paired up with Microsoft Teams, their video conferencing one, and then Google has its workspace bundle, which is G Suite, and that has Google Hangouts and Google Duo and Google Meetings and all of it. They have like a bunch of different platforms actually. So it makes sense that Zoom would look into email and calendar, try to round out its offerings and make Zoom less of a single purpose platform. So I think that if they do this, I don't know if it will really, I don't know if a lot of people are going to end up using it, but I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, so this should be really interesting. So let's move on to the next topic. Apple's iCloud sign-in and activation issue appears resolved after nearly 36 hours. So for a lot of people who got up on Christmas and got like a new Apple product, a lot of people had difficulty setting up and signing into iCloud along with other Apple sign-in things. So it was first reported as of Saturday morning, which was today, and Apple's status page was showing some users affected by an issue that began around 4:45 a.m. Eastern Time on December 25th, which was yesterday. Nearly 36 hours later, the issue appears to be over. A status update at 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time Saturday shows that the issue was resolved. The issue appeared to be affecting multiple devices. The system status page didn't show issues with any other parts of iCloud or services. Apple support tweeted on Friday afternoon that it was aware of the issue and said that it was experiencing a high capacity at this time, which is impacting your ability to set up iCloud. Please try back in a couple of hours. The message was directed to a user trying to set up their mother's new iPad and HomePod Mini. Let's go to our next article. Continuing with Apple news, apparently the iOS calculator app has had scientific mode since 2008. Back in 2008, with iOS 2.0, the calculator app was introduced, and apparently all of the functionality, like adding numbers to memory, parentheses, exponents, and trig functions, were actually added to the app all the way back then. So I'm not sure if you were actually able to use it back then. My guess is you were, and that people didn't figure that out. But I find that really interesting that all the way back when the first iPhone was released, they actually had a scientific calculator. So next up, the government blacklisted Dji Drones, but some drone companies are more worried than confused. So I don't know if people heard, but last week the U.S. Department of Commerce put DJI, which is a Chinese company, they make drones as well as other products, which Apple actually sells some of their products. I have one of their DJI Osmo Mobile 2, which is a camera stabilizer for your phone, and they have come out with other ones since. I think they have the Osmo Mobile 4 now. But apparently it's the U.S. Department of Commerce is limiting how it can work with U.S. companies. The news started DJI's huge American user base, including companies that rely on DJI for entire fleets of commercial drones, but it's likely less, like there aren't as many as we would think. So the Trump administration has repeatedly used sanctions to crack down on Chinese tech giants, sometimes on disputed grounds. It banned U.S. companies from dealing with Huawei and ZTE, and it's pursued confusing, legally ambiguous bans on Chinese social apps such as WeChat and TikTok. There's some other ones as well, which are around online, and I think we talked about a bunch of them in some other episodes back on the other show, which was Tech Weekly. While the entity list is primarily meant for restricting companies that threaten national security, DJI is being censored for enabling wild-scale human rights abuses with China, following reports that it provided surveillance drones for Chinese detention camps. Completely banning DJI drones would be a catastrophic blow to the industry, but early indications suggest that that's not happening. DJI dominates hobbyist commercial and commercial small drone sales thanks to its comparatively low prices, sophisticated designs, and early entry to the market. So after the announcement, DJI said DJI is disappointed in the U.S. Department of Commerce's decision. Customers in America can continue to buy and use DJI products normally, which is good because I know a lot of people that actually do have DJI drones, and they're pretty cool. Let's see. Next up. You can now play Microsoft's Flight Simulator in virtual reality, so that's really cool. So actually, I downloaded Microsoft Flight Simulator, but now that you can use it in virtual reality seems like even cooler. than the game already is. So Microsoft's Flight Simulator has always been about making you feel like a pilot, but you've never been able to experience it in VR until today. So there is actually, the update is free, and has added support for OpenXR compatible headsets, which includes Windows mixed reality headsets, as well as the Valve Index HTC Vive and the Oculus Rift and Oculus Quest if you use a link cable. So that means if you buy the Oculus Quest, which I think is like $200 or $300 depending on the storage capacity that you want, or is it $300 or $400? I think it's $300 or $400, which is still relatively cheap for a pretty good VR headset that can be standalone, where it does have what's called the link cable that you can link it to your PC, and so then you can play Flight Simulator, which is awesome. So yeah, before you used to just look at it on the screen, but now as soon as like you look around, it'll actually be like you're flying a real airplane. So I'd love to try this out at some point. I will have to get a VR headset though. I may make a YouTube video on that. If you guys want me to, make sure to leave a like and a comment down below telling me that you want to see that. So next up, Facebook offered to license its network and code to avoid antitrust actions. In wake of the groundbreaking Federal Trade Commission lawsuit against Facebook, the Washington Post is reporting new details of the company's negotiations with regulators in the run-up to the case, including unusual offer to license and its code and network to competitors. So this is pretty interesting. Facebook, according to the posts, to the Washington Post, Facebook was willing to significantly alter its business practices in order to avoid litigation, including one measure allowing another firm or developer to license access to its powerful code and its users' intricate web of relationships so that they could more easily create their own version of a social network. Ultimately, the FTC declined Facebook's offer, filing an antitrust complaint against the company on December 9th. The lawsuit alleges that Facebook used its platform power to stealth competitors and seeks to unwind the acquisitions of WhatsApp and Instagram. It's not clear what a platform licensing agreement would look like in practice, but it's a good proposition for some tech reformers, particularly thinkers like Harold Feld and Tim Wu, who have looked for ways to make it easier for users to switch platforms. This kind of licensing deal would allow upstarts like TikTok to buy access to many of Facebook's most powerful tools, but it's unclear whether it would produce meaningful competition for the company. Facebook is also facing new scrutiny over an alleged deal with Google to coordinate ad networks, which is not good. So let's head over to our next link. Let's see. Microsoft and Google joined Facebook's legal fight against infamous spyware vendor. A group of high-profile tech companies, including Microsoft, Google, Cisco, and VMware, which is like for virtual machines on your computer, have filed an amicus brief in support of Facebook's legal action against NSO Group, Microsoft has announced. Facebook-owned WhatsApp sued the spyware vendor last year, alleging that its software was used to hack 1,400 devices via a vulnerability in the messaging service. Other companies listed on filing include the Internet Association and Microsoft subsidiaries GitHub and LinkedIn. In response to Facebook's lawsuit last year, NSO Group has argued it should benefit from sovereign immunity because it sells its tools to foreign governments. However, in July, a judge denied its request to dismiss the lawsuit. Now, NSO Group is appealing to overturn the ruling, and it's this appeal attempt that Microsoft and others are pushing back against. All right, next up. Apple wants to build its first car in 2024, says Reuters. Apple once again appears to be seriously looking at making a car. Apple is pursuing production of a passenger vehicle by 2024, as well as the creation of self-driving systems and a breakthrough battery technology. The report is vague on how all of it comes together. It's not clear that all of this tech is going to into the first passenger vehicle Apple hopes to make, but it indicates that Apple is considering vehicle production after previously shutting down plans to make a car. There have been rumors of Apple developing a car going back to 2015, but in 2016, the project was scaled down significantly, with development of a full car being scrapped and Apple's team refocusing on providing software that could be licensed out to car manufacturers, according to reports at the time. Around 200 people were laid off from Apple's car team just last year. So it seems that Apple has renewed its focus on building an actual vehicle, though there's a lot of uncertainty on when that would happen. Okay. Keeping it going. Samsung's Galaxy Buds Pro will have a feature just like spatial audio on the AirPods Pro. With Samsung's upcoming Galaxy Buds Pro, they are planning to counter one of the differentiating features of Apple's AirPods Pro and now AirPods Max as well, spatial audio. Spatial audio crams an immersive surround sound-like experience into a set of earbuds or headphones, and it accurately keeps the sound source anchored to your iPhone or iPad, so if you turn your head, you'll notice that the sound stays in front of you. Wherever you move the device, that's where the sound, it'll sound like where it's coming from. I haven't tried out this feature yet, but it's actually really cool from what I've seen and other people testing it out. What Samsung seems to be readying its own take on spatial audio as it becomes oddly common. The company's mobile Galaxy Buds app has a prematurely spilled some of Samsung's latest earbud tricks, as noted by 9to5 Google. An updated version of the app was found on Samsung's servers with screenshots and features for the unannounced Galaxy Buds Pro. One of the new software capabilities is referred to 3D audio for videos. And the app says that it will let you hear vivid, immersive sound coming from all directions so that you feel right in the scene as you watch the video. So it's pretty much spatial audio. They're basically copying Apple, but I still think that it is good that they are doing this. Next up, give me one moment. Let's see. Okay, let's pull this up here. Let's see. Sorry, one moment. Okay. So now we are going to take a look at the latest Oneplus leaks. OnePlus's latest concept phone is color-changing, motion-tracking 8T. OnePlus has a new concept phone to show off, which is its way of teasing that maybe it might take it into one of the company's future phones. The OnePlus 8T concept is similar to a similar phone to the OnePlus 8T that was released a couple of months ago, but it's got a pretty unique rear design that changes color alongside a motion tracking radar module, which is pretty cool. So as you guys can see on the screen, I know if you're listening to this through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you won't be able to see this, but you should definitely go check it out online. The back of the phone will actually change colors. Right now it's changed between blue and gray, which is really cool. And so it says that the color changing effect is achieved with a film that contains metal oxide, which sits underneath the phone's glass back and changes color as different voltages are applied to it. At its most basic, it could change color to show off the phone's notifications, like an incoming phone call, much like the notification light that has been included on its phones in the past. But I guess this is where things get interesting, as this says, when it gets paired with the Concept's phone's rear-mounted radar module. The module, which is built into the camera bump on the back of the phone, uses millimeter wave radar to bounce off of electromagnetic waves off its surroundings and lets the phone perceive, image, locate, and track objects. Although Oneplus says this millimeter wave technology is borrowed from 5G, it adds that radar module in separate from any millimeter wave communication module in the phone. Functionally, it sounds like it's similar to the Pixel 4's, Google Pixel 4's radar-enabled motion sense technology, which would let you, I think it's called the Soli radar, which they discontinued on the Google Pixel 5. But basically, that would let you like swipe your hand over the screen if you wanted to change a song or dismiss notifications or stuff like that, which was pretty cool. And it can also this will also detect your presence to show you the time and any notifications. The functionality was interesting, but Google has not included it. As I said, they discontinued it in their new models. So this definitely sounds really interesting. So here's the video for it. So I will be sharing the video with you guys right now. Sorry about that. So as you can see on the back, now the color is changing because the guy is receiving a phone call. So I think this is pretty cool. I don't think it's going to last very long, as now we're transitioning to phones that don't even have, or that have screens on the back. But I definitely think that this is a pretty cool concept. So this is the OnePlus 8T concept phone. So I'm not 100% sure if this is coming out, but still looks very interesting. Alright, so next up, Adobe has released their Apple Silicon version of Premiere Pro, the beta version for it. It has kind of a cool logo as well. So Adobe has released an ARM version of Premiere Pro for macOS, allowing owners of new Apple Silicon M1 Macs to run the video editing software natively. The program is still very much in beta for now. However, the Adobe post announcing its availability lists a host of known bugs and missing features. So that's pretty cool. So you know that when you are getting it, you will know. You will know what features it is going to missing or is buggy. So the news of its release was spotted by the 8-Bit and Mac rumors, and they have added that Adobe's Premiere Rush and Audition have also been updated to run on the new machines, which is pretty cool. Adobe says it's porting Premiere Pro's features over in phases, starting with its core editing functions and workflows, as well as popular codecs like H.264, HEVC, and ProRes, which is good. Third-party integrations will need to be updated by their respective developers to work on Apple Silicon. So these are ones that are like Frame.io, Blackmagic Raw, and stuff like that. Adobe advises that users can run the current version, the release version of Premiere Pro on M1 Macs using Rosetta 2 emulation, while the ARM version is still in development, though some third-party integrations may not work in this mode. Premiere Pro joins other Adobe apps, including Photoshop and Lightroom, that have also been released for the new, or the beta versions have been released for the new M1 Macs. So this is pretty cool if you're an M1 Mac owner. All right. Next up. So apparently, with new Cyberpunk 2077, sometimes the save files can be too big and then they become corrupted. So players are reporting that save files larger than 8 megabytes, which is not very big, are becoming corrupted. So that is not very good, as you can imagine. So it seems it can happen when, crossing that 8 megabyte threshold is when the save file corrupted one for Redditor in their testing. There are multiple people on CD Projekt Red forums reporting that their 8 megabyte plus save files are corrupted. So unfortunately, when this happens, it can't be recovered, which is not good. So it says to avoid this, keep a lower amount of items and crafting materials. So I assume they are going to be releasing an update that will fix this in the future, hopefully. Let's see. Next up. Apple has temporarily closed all 53 stores in California and also over a dozen in London. The company has temporarily closed every single store in California, as I said, and many more across the U.S., both stores in Mexico, both stores in Brazil. I guess they only have 2. And they're about to close 16 additional stores across the U.K. That's nearly 100 stores if they include the closed ones in Germany and in the Netherlands last week that they just closed, leaving nearly a fifth of the company's locations now closed worldwide. So every California store, there's 4 in Tennessee, and that's not a lot. All 4 of those are closed. There are 3 in Utah that are all closed, and all 4 in Minnesota are closed. 2 in Oklahoma, and then there are stores in Portland, Oregon, in Alaska, and Nebraska, and Albuquerque, New Mexico, are all closed in this upcoming week, and then the other stores across the world as well. So I guess they, because of the stay-at-home orders and just because of COVID on the rise, they decided to close it, which was very smart by them. So next up. Cable companies can no longer rent you the router you already own, is the headline of this. So basically, your ISP gives you like a modem or modem router, as Xfinity gives. But basically, a lot of these ISPs have been charging people for having these in their house, but actually that fee is technically illegal. As of Sunday, December 20th, which was last Sunday for us now, and you should tell your ISP that you can no longer tolerate it. Last year, Congress passed a law that should have fixed this ridiculous loophole as of June 20th, 2020, and though the FCC managed to extend the deadline by 6 months by spinning up some stuff about how cable companies didn't have the resources to stop charging you money, but the law should take full effect tomorrow. Do note that the actual text of the law still allows some of the ISPs to charge you for other fees. If your ISP sends you a router, you should return it and avoid charges. Frontier, I guess, which is an ISP in particular, has been notorious for charging customers a $10 a month fee for their equipment, whether you use it or not. Meaning that, like, if you have your own router, they still charge you, which makes no sense. Which so they charge you whether you use it or not, which is technically Frontier's words apparently. But Frontier is clearly aware that it won't be able to do that anymore, so starting this month, the company's equipment page has changed to remove the part where it talks about the mandatory fee. So, yeah. So if your ISP is charging you, make sure that you do call them up, and make sure that, like, you don't have to pay for it anymore. Next up, Apple. Apple puts another supplier on probation after they exploited workers and smashed up a building. So for the second time in 2 months, Apple's putting one of the companies it hires to build the iPhone on notice for violating labor laws. A bunch of news sources, including Reuters, Bloomberg, and others, are reporting that Apple has put Taiwanese manufacturing giant Wistron on probation, meaning it won't receive any new business from Apple until they sort things out, after the supplier was found exploiting workers at a plant in India. The reason we're hearing about this at all is pretty incredible. This says, on December 12th, about 2,000 workers decided to protest unpaid wages by rioting at one of Wistron's offices, smashing up the lobby and overturning vehicles. Apparently there's a video, so I guess I'm gonna show the video because why not. Here we go. So here is the video. One moment. Okay, so now that we're here, we'll go down to this is the video. So as you can see there, they turned over some cars, I guess, and other vehicles, and this is just them, like, smashing the lobby because of, I guess, they weren't getting paid their wages, and they were also forcing people to work overtime. So yeah. So it turns out that the workers' complaints were legitimate, and Wistron is admitting as much, and the local government found serious labor violations in its preliminary investigation. They say that Wistron was indeed underpaying wages and forcing some people to work overtime, and so the police are also investigating middlemen who are targeting Apple's contract workers as well. The investigation also reportedly reveals that 8,500 of the Wistron factory's 10,500 workers were contractors rather than full-time employees, and that the plant may have only been permitted for 5,000 workers to begin with, which obviously is not very good for them. Wistron has issued an apology saying that it's enhancing its processes and restructuring their teams to ensure these issues cannot happen again, adding that it's already established a 24-hour grievance hotline and an employee assistant program. The company says it also has, like, fired their VP of business in India. So yeah. Next up, let's see. Next up, the Galaxy Samsung S21 Ultra is reportedly to have 6 cameras. That is, I don't understand. Like, I can understand 2, maybe 3, like on the iPhone and some of Samsung's earlier phones, where you have the wide, the ultra wide, which are the main ones, and then I can see maybe a use case for the telephoto lens, but other than that, I don't think you need any more lenses. So today we have another Galaxy S21 leak, which seems to confirm some of the specs that have been floating around. So the Samsung Galaxy S21 series of phones has been landing almost daily in the run-up to Samsung's January event, which I believe is January 14th, leaked by John Prosser. But with this newest leak, we now have a better idea of what to expect, especially in the camera department. In short, the hardware appears to be a big part of Samsung's plan to take on the highly capable iPhone 12 Pro Max. The Galaxy S21 Ultra will reportedly offer a 3x and 10x telephoto lens camera, 72mm and 240mm equivalent focal lengths, respectively, both with optical image stabilization. That's one additional rear-facing camera compared to the S20 Ultra's 3 rear sensors. So just stick with the 3. I'm not really sure why you need a 3x sensor and a 10x lens. There's 3x lens and a 10x lens. Like, just go with the 10x lens. I'm not really sure why they have to do that. But the S21's 10x lens will use a folded optic design like that of the S20's telephoto camera. We expect Samsung will once again offer hybrid zoom that reaches much farther than that 10x optical range. So the main camera will be a 108 megapixel camera, and it will be slightly wider compared to last year's with a 24mm camera or lens versus a 26mm lens. It will also get laser assisted autofocus, something that the S20 Ultra didn't offer, but the Note 20 Ultra later introduced. So yeah. So these looks like a pretty good phone. I am wondering what the pricing is going to be on these, because their pricing has come up a lot from when they used to be. I remember when Apple used to be the expensive phone manufacturer. Now they still are, but not as much as Samsung. So yeah, I found that pretty interesting. Alright, so we'll get back to the news. Let's see. The let's give this a sec. The ACLU is suing for more information about the FBI's phone hacking lab. On Tuesday, the American Civil Liberties Union filed a new lawsuit demanding the information about the FBI's Electronic Device Analysis Unit, or the EDAU, a forensic unit that the ACLU believes has been quietly breaking the iPhone's local encryption systems. The FBI secretly breaking the encryption that secures our cell phones and laptops from identity thieves, hackers, and abusive governments. The ACLU said in a statement announcing the lawsuit, and it refuses to even acknowledge that it has information about these efforts. In quotes. Let's see. The FBI has made a few public statements about the EDAU, but the lawsuit cites a handful of cases in which prosecutors have submitted a mobile device unlock request and received data from a previously locked phone. The EDAU also puts in public requests for the gray key devices that found success unlocking a previous version of iOS. Next up, I think this will probably end up being our last news topic for the evening. But GameStop will reportedly accept Cyberpunk 2077 returns, and even if you opened the game. GameStop reportedly sent a memo to employees telling them to accept returns of Cyberpunk 2077, even in the event the physical game box has already been opened, according to some news sources. GameStop's return policy typically does not let you return open games, but GameStop seems to be making an exception for Cyberpunk 2077 after its buggy launch. You can return it on PlayStation 4 and Xbox version of the games within 30 days of purchase to get a refund. GameStop didn't, so yeah. Other retailers have also offered refunds of Cyberpunk 2077. Best Buy accepted physical returns of the game up until December 21st, and the game developer CD Projekt Red also promised refunds for retail copies of the game out of our own pocket if necessary, if players submitted a refund request by December 21st, which now is a little bit too late. So that's good that they are accepting refunds. Good for GameStop. I'm not actually really sure how GameStop is still in business, because I feel like most people buy their games either through Amazon if you do want a physical disc, or you just buy it through the Play Store or Xbox Store as well. But yeah. Alright, so I guess that just about wraps up this episode of Tech Weekly. So thank you everybody for watching. Sorry that Tim was unable to be here. I think he was having some Wi-Fi issues, but stay tuned for next week. What's next week? What's next week's date? I'm gonna actually check that. So next week's date, I believe, is supposed to be New Year's. So either on New Year's or the 2nd of January. We'll have to see. But we may have a New Year's special. But we will see for that. So stay tuned for next week. Also, if you make sure to become a member by hitting that little blue join button. Also, you can check it out in the description below, but make sure to press that join button. We actually just released a new video which will be coming out to the public tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. But if you do become a member, you can actually see it today, which is pretty cool. Also, head over to thetechprofessor.shop to pick up some merch. We just dropped some new merch, so make sure to go check that out. Also, head over to thetechprofessor.net, our forum, and sign up there if you need any tech help. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at thetechprofjb. And so I'll catch you guys next week, and make sure to check out and stay tuned for the video coming tomorrow. So I'm Jake, the Tech Professor, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.